Hello and welcome to VNA News Daily Bulletin. I'm Bảo Trung from Hanoi, and coming up next we have your top stories. General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng asked mobile police to ensure absolute safety for major events. Lâm Đồng honors flower growers for achievements in production of new varieties. Hội An builds tourism brand from locally grown plant. Party General Secretary Nguyễn Phú Trọng has urged the Mobile Police High Command to ensure absolute safety for the country's major events, including the National Party Congress and the elections of deputies to the National Assembly. The party chief visited the Hanoi-based High Command on January 2nd. He said the public security force and mobile police in particular must work closely with other forces and garner all possible public support to fulfill assigned tasks. He said they need to improve training and rehearsal quality while strengthening close-knit ties with local authorities and people. Since its establishment in 2009, the High Command of the Mobile Police has well performed its role as a think tank for the party, state, and ministries' leaders. With regular drills and close coordination with units concerned, the force has uncovered a number of criminal cases involving drug traffickers, foreigners, smugglers, and rioters, thwarted plots by hostile forces, protected the execution of judgments, and engaged in flood control, search and rescue. On January 2nd, China conducted a pilot flight to an airport it illegally built on the Đá Chữ Thập Island on Trường Sa, known as Spratly Archipelago. The same day, Vietnam's Foreign Ministry spokesman Lê Hải Bình said China's move seriously violates Vietnam's sovereignty over the archipelago. Also on January 2nd, a representative from the ministry met with representatives from the Chinese embassy and exchanged a diplomatic note to oppose China's action. Moving on to other news, the Quảng Ngãi Province Museum has recently received a plastic version of an old wood block that proves Vietnam's sovereignty over Hoàng Sa, known as Paracel Archipelago. The printing board, dated back from the Nguyễn Dynasty, 1802 to 1945, described in details the geographic locations of the island. The wood block provided evidence of Vietnam's early governance over Hoàng Sa. It was part of the collection of Nguyễn Dynasty wood blocks that has been recognized as part of the World Documentary Heritage. The plastic version was presented to the local museum by the National Archive Center No. 4 to help promote public awareness of Vietnam's sovereignty over the archipelago. On the occasion, the museum opened an exhibition of nearly 500 ancient Vietnamese artifacts, which will last until January 10th. More than 126 individuals and organizations in the Central Highlands province of Lâm Đồng have been honored for their stellar achievements in the study and production of new flower varieties. A ceremony was held on January 1st as part of the 6th Đà Lạt Flower Festival, aiming to show respect for outstanding farmers and businesses for their great contributions to the city's horticulture. Lâm Đồng is currently home to nearly 8,000 hectares of flowers with a yield of nearly 2.5 billion flowers per year. Đà Lạt now has 4 traditional flower villages. They have improved traditional flower cultivation while bringing Đà Lạt flower trademark to both domestic and international markets. The Đà Lạt Flower Festival is expected to attract 500,000 visitors who have been grabbed by the kaleidoscopic patchwork of flowers, charming landscape, and comfortable weather of the city. The Ministry of Education and Training said it will prioritize funding for poor localities to upgrade ethnic boarding school infrastructure between 2016 and 2020. The ministry said only 70 to 75% of key goals set for the project to develop ethnic boarding schools for 2011 to 2015 have been fulfilled due to insufficient funding in several localities. There were 308 ethnic boarding schools nationwide by 2015, with more than 88,200 students. As many as 120 out of the 308 schools have met national standards, up 29% prior to the project's launch. Thanks to the improvement in quality of lecturer staff, more than half of ethnic boarding students gained admission to universities and colleges. Nearly 20% took pre-college classes and the remaining underwent vocational training or sought jobs in localities. From 2014 to 2015, nearly 96% of ethnic boarding students graduated, 4% higher than that of the nation. Ho Chi Minh City is forecast to need 65,000 workers in the first quarter of 2016. More details coming up next. Ho Chi Minh City's Human Resource Forecast and Labor Market Information Center said the jobs in high demand are those in the fields of construction, marketing, sales, tourism service, hospitality, healthcare and house helper services. In March, demand will be high for workers in textiles and garments, footwear, food processing, transportation, and import-export services. The shortage of laborers after Tet or Lunar New Year is expected to range from 3 to 4%. Staff turnover is forecast to be more than 10% of the total employed workforce after Tet. The ancient city of Hoi An has introduced new craft products made from Phemiana colorata, commonly known as the Chinese parasol tree, which has been long grown on Cham Island. The move aims to promote the locality's tourism services. Phemiana colorata is an endemic floral species of Cham Islands and is likened as the queen of the floral. Early this year, 3 Phemiana colorata trees, which started growing on the island 200 years ago, were recognized as heritage trees by the UNESCO. Not only connecting closely with the daily life of the local residents, Phemiana trees can be used to make different products and souvenirs for tourists. Local people produce hammock from the tree bark, in addition to oil, cake, skin cream, and lipstick. Being aware of their benefits, Hoi An City has planned to restore the trees and develop the craft industry in connection with tourism services in Cham Island.
Products made from Phemiana colorata trees are good and have utility and nutrition values, meeting tourist taste. Actually, the trees are popular among the locals for a long time, but we spend a lot of time studying before tapping its benefits. For example, it takes over 2 years to study the quality and nutrition of their seeds before making foodstuff.
Cham Island, 20 kilometers off the coast of Hoi An City, was recognized as a World Biosphere Reserve by UNESCO in 2009. It hosts around 100,000 tourists each year, of which 10% are foreigners. The establishment of ASEAN Community, migration crisis in Europe, oil price drop, and historical deal on climate change adaptation are among the most outstanding events in the world last year. The Vietnam News Agency selects the top 10 world events for 2015 as follows. 13 years after the Association of Southeast Asian Nations (ASEAN) floated an idea on a common community, the ASEAN community is officially set up on December 31, 2015, with 3 key pillars: political security community, economic community, and social-cultural community. This marks an important development step in the grouping's process of extensive connectivity towards the goal: one vision, one identity, one community.
China increased its unilateral actions in the East Sea, including illegal construction on islands and reefs on the Hoàng Sa, Paracel, and Trường Sa Spratly archipelagos of Vietnam. The international community expressed deep concern about those moves and warned that such actions had infringed international law, increased tension, and threatened security and safety of navigation and aviation. as well as damage the ecological systems in the East Sea.
A series of bomb attacks, kidnapping and shootings, especially the bloody attacks in Charlie Hebdo newspaper office on January 7th and Bataclan Theatre on November 13th in France, or the bombing of a Russian plane in Egypt on October 30th shocked the world. The expansion and brutality of the self-claimed Islamic State terrorist group, along with Russia's military intervention in Syria, have changed the situation in the global fight against terrorism, with the strong involvement of many countries worldwide.
Mass waves of migration from the Middle East and North African countries to Europe brought the most serious migration crisis since the World War II, causing severe security and socio-economic impacts for European nations and the world, as well as creating divergences in policies of the European Union's member nations on how to cope with the situation.
On December 12, all the 195 countries attending the 21st Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in France approved an agreement aimed at curbing global warming. The deal was said to be the strongest commitment of the international community to fight against climate change. Developed countries pledged to provide at least $100 billion a year to help developing countries deal with climate change.
The price of crude oil on the world market was reduced by nearly 60% in the past year to below $35 per barrel, the lowest price since 2004. The decrease was attributed to persistent oversupply and falling demand of oil, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries' decision on not cutting oil output, and the U.S. removal of its 40-year ban on oil exports. The strong reduction of oil price has a huge impact on the economy and geopolitics of various countries.
After 11 years of tense negotiations, Iran and the P5+1 countries reached a historic agreement on July 14th, under which Iran vowed to restrict its nuclear program, while other countries pledged to lift sanctions imposed on Tehran.
Two earthquakes measuring 7.8 magnitude and 7.3 magnitude on April 25th and May 12th shook almost all parts of Nepal, leaving 1,964 deaths and injuring 21,952 people. The United Nations estimated that around 8 million people were affected by the disasters.
Numerous high-ranking FIFA officials, including FIFA President Sepp Blatter and President of the Union of European Football Association (UEFA), Michel Platini, were accused of corruption, bribery, and money laundering, with the money involved worth up to hundreds of millions of US dollars.
On July 23rd, the U.S. National Aeronautics and Space Administration announced the discovery of a planet outside the solar system, which holds the most characteristics like the Earth so far. The planet, named Kepler 452b, is around 1.6 times larger than the Earth in diameter and is 1,400 light years from the Earth. This is a revolutionary discovery, increasing hope for the search for life beyond the Earth.
And that has wrapped up our news bulletin. Thank you for tuning in. For more information, please log on to our website at www.vietnamplus.vn. We'll see you soon.